Hello, Valita's World. This is Carmelita, your host, and welcome back to my vlog. So today, we're going to be making a beef stew. I have here before me a huge 5 pounds, almost 5 pounds of beef chopped up. It's Angus beef. I got it at Sam's Club. I was in the store one day and they had a great sale. 5 pounds. Look at that. All of that beef was only $20. You see that? I'm trying to get the camera to zoom in on it. $20.38. So yeah, I decided it's raining here in Georgia. So since it's a rainy day in Georgia, I am going to make beef stew. So I have already cut up my carrots. I have bell pepper. I chopped up fresh garlic, onions, and I'm going to be using these mini potatoes I got also at Sam's Club. See, perfect bite-sized potatoes. And I'm going to be cooking this all in my Dutch oven because I am not set on no set time. I want to just cook it a little slow. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go over to the stove. I'm going to add a little avocado oil to the Dutch oven. And I'm going to sear the meat. I am not putting all this meat, 5 pounds of meat, into this stew. I am going to break this meat down. And I think I'm going to probably do probably a beef stroganoff with the rest of it. I'm unsure, but I'll let you know. All right, so give me a minute and I'll be back. Okay, everybody, so we're going to get started. What we're going to do first is we're going to season our meat. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding a little bit of Tabitha's seasoning here. You see that? Tabitha Brown's. I got it backwards. Tabitha Brown's Sunshine. Love me some Tabitha Brown seasoning. So we're going to put that in there. This one haven't been open. I ran out of my other one. And you know they now have Tabitha's Brown Sunshine seasoning. They now have it at Sam's Club. Yes, they have this at Sam's Club. And they have it's a bigger bottle. It comes in a bigger bottle than this. So I'm going to put that in there. We're going to add a little onion powder. Anybody's onion powder will do. A couple of tablespoons if you in the measurements. I'm like Tabitha. I just let the spirit tell me when to stop. And then I stop. That was a little paprika. A little black pepper. A little garlic powder. And we're going to mix this up. Give me a minute. Let me get some gloves. I normally would use a spoon to mix it, but that don't work all the time. Sometimes you got to get your hands down in there and get dirty with it. You know what I mean? Let's get in here and make it do what it do. Okay? So what we're going to do is, see that? We're going to mix it all up. Get all them flavors throughout, distributed throughout on all the meat. Smells good. That Tabitha Brown Sunshine seasoning, it smells good and it gives your food a really, really good flavor. I'm just being honest. All right, so we got all this meat stirred up, and next we're gonna add a little olive oil to the Dutch oven. All right, guys, so here's my Dutch oven. We're going to add a little avocado oil to that. Now these big huge bottles of avocado oil I got when I was in California. I think I have one more bottle left, and I only paid $10.99 for this gigantic bottle. It's 34 ounces. Lord knows I wish I had about more now. So yeah, a little more. I don't want to drown. I just want to coat the whole bottom of the Dutch oven, and then we're gonna turn the heat on up under it. And what we're doing now is we're gonna turn the heat on, and we're gonna sew the stew meat. We're gonna saute this stew meat. So I'm gonna let it sear. That's what it's doing. It's gonna sear in the Dutch oven. So I'm gonna let the Dutch oven heat up, and then we're gonna, I'm not gonna put it all in there at once. I'm gonna just coat the bottom with it once it get hot, and I'll show you. And I'm gonna, because I don't want it to sit on top of each other, because if I put it all in there at once, it's gonna just release a lot of water, and I don't want it to release water. I want it to sear brown on each side. Okay, so I'll be back. Okay guys, so as you can see in the skillet, my grease is ready. So I'm just gonna start just dropping these in, put them in. Ooh, I'm trying to show you with the camera. I hope you can see it. See that in the skillet? So I'm gonna just add them in there. As you can see, all I'm doing is just putting the meat on the bottom of the pan. Okay, okay, that's enough. So I'm going to let that sear, and then I'm going to flip it over and let it sear on the other side. And then I'll take it out and add some more as we go. This is what I have left. So this is what's searing now. Okay, and I'll be back. Okay guys, now what I'm going to do is I am going to, sorry about the camera, I am going to turn my meat, start trying to turn it a little bit. See that? That's what I'm looking for, that little crispiness on each side. See, that little char. I'm sorry guys. So I'm going to turn this all over and let it cook on the other side for about another 5 minutes. Okay, so that's what it's looking like right now. And I'm going to let it simmer and cook on the other side. So like I said, about 5-10 more minutes. And then I'll add the next batch in. Guys, you know what? I was looking and I'm like, something's missing off my table. What is it? Peas and corn. So I have taken out some frozen peas and frozen corn. So that's what's going into my beef stew. All right, we're going to go over it one more time. We have the mini potatoes, we have red onions, we have chopped up fresh garlic, bell peppers, carrots, frozen corn, and frozen peas. So that's what's going to go into my stew. All right, now before I put it into the stew, I am going to put the carrots and bell peppers and onions and garlic and potatoes in the pot after I take the beef out. And I'm going to stir it up and let some of all that fat and juice and seasoning get into those. And then I'm going to start boiling my meat in chicken broth. So I'll be back with you on that. Okay, everybody. So this is the outcome of the meat. Now I am going to be adding in my onions, garlic, bell peppers, carrots, and I'll do the potatoes. They'll just go in the oven last. So I'm gonna stir fry this. Just give me a minute. And I'm gonna add a little more oil because I didn't have enough oil in there. So that's what you guys are gonna see. I'm gonna pour some oil in here. Now what it is all that dew on the bottom, that them flavors, see all that black, that's all seasoning and flavors. I'm gonna get all that out, the burnt flavor, and try and add it in. With the onions and the bell pepper. And I'm going to add some more spices to it. And I'll be adding the same spices that I used before. And what I didn't show you was I added a little sea salt to the meat. That's Tabitha Brown seasoning right there. Onion powder. A little black pepper. A little paprika. And a little garlic powder to go along with the fresh garlic. Now the peas and carrots, I'm going to add that in last after my meat cook all the way. But right now I just want to kind of mix this up and you know, I'm going to get in here and show you guys. I want to just mix this up and let that cook a little bit, you know, cook it down a little. Get all them flavors up in it. Alright? Not adding no salt to this because I added salt on my meat. And I'm going to be adding the broth. Okay? So I'm going to let that go for a minute. And then I'll put the meat, take it out and put the meat in there and let that simmer a little while. And then I'll add the carrots and everything back. Okay guys, so I have cooked this for a few minutes. I don't want to overcook it. I just wanted to, you know, do a little something. So that's it. And I'm going to take these out because I got that seasoning all in them. You guys, you know what I think? So, now that I have taken I'm getting all the carrots out. Yes. All right, so I done took the carrots out. Now we're going to add the meat back in. Okay? See? Now that the meat is back in, we're going to add the broth. And I'm going to be adding chicken broth because the chicken broth comes with flavor. And beef broth, it doesn't really have any beef in it. They just add additives to it to give it a beef taste, but it's not real beef broth. Whereas chicken broth is real chicken broth. So.
And that shrimp and pork. It's crispy on the inside.
Now, the reason I sauteed my meat, I fried up my meat on both sides first, is because the meat releases the flavor of the beef.
And this dipping sauce?
I just gave you a pancake down here.
And by it releasing the flavors of the beef, it makes my beef stew taste that much better. So that's what we're doing. And then by me having real broth, real chicken broth, it's just going to add more flavor. And this is low sodium by Great Value, Walmart. Now some people take theirs and they put it in the oven. When their Dutch oven, their Dutch oven, they put it in the actual oven and let it cook. I am going to cook my beef stew the way I always have, the way my mom taught me, on top of the stove. It ain't never failed me. I ain't never had a problem with it. So why change up now, huh? So I'm just making sure I cover all my meat. Well, okay. So I used 2.5 things of chicken broth. 62, that's 64, 70, 80. I used 82 ounce, not quite 82 ounces. Like 70 ounces, 72, 73 ounces of chicken broth is what I use. So now we're going to put a lid on this. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. And we're going to let this cook. All right? And then when it get to when it's cooked a little bit more, I am going to start adding in my potatoes and carrots. My peas and corn will go in last. And I put that lid on it and she's off. So I'll be back. Okay, I just added my potatoes. And now, next, I'm going to add my carrots. Look at all that goodness. Now, I will thicken it up, but I'm not going to do that until later. I'm not going to add no thickening agent until later, because I want these carrots to cook down. And then I'll add the thickening and just let it simmer. All right. Now, we're going to put a lid on it, and I'll come back. All right, guys. So what I'm going to do now is add a tablespoon of cornstarch to some cold water. I'm using the bowl that the carrots were in. This is not a dirty bowl because I want the flavor. It's all about the flavor. I'm not losing none of it. And so I'm going to pour that in there. And it must be cold water, okay? I'm going to have to add some more because that's not enough. And I'm going to mix it up. And this is what I'm going to use as my thickening agent for my stew. Instead of flour, I'm using cornstarch. So I'm going to add a little bit more because I can see that 1 tablespoon wasn't enough. So I'm doing a 2nd tablespoon. And that should do it. Because I don't want it to be too thick. All right. And then make sure you get all the white powdery substance out of it. Stir it up. And use cold water, not hot. Hot water make it lump. You know, all my life I used to use hot water. And it would always lump. And I would always have lumps in my gravies and things when I would try and make it. Because for some reason in my head, I just knew we had to use hot water, you know, or the broth from the meat. Never knowing that you're supposed to use cold water. I love YouTube. Watching the other cooks, Darius Cooks, is when I learned to use corn starch and cold water. Then I was watching Smoking and Grilling. He did it. And then this other channel, this guy from Canada. So thank you guys for letting me know how to make a thickening for my gravy. So that's that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this in the pot. I was going to wait, but I'm going to pour it in the pot now. And I got the fire on as low as it can go. And I took the lid a little bit off the pot. So because it was boiling like crazy. And I don't want it to boil too fast. So I want it like a simmer. But my stove, that Dutch oven, baby, it holds that heat. When you have a Dutch oven, that heats up real quick inside. So I just moved the lid just a little bit to release some of the pressure so it won't cook as fast. All right. So I'll show you. All right. So you see how I have that little crack? So it's done slowed down the cooking process, because if I put it on all the way, it's boiling like crazy. So that's what it's looking like. And I'm gonna take the lid off, and we're going to pour in the thickening mixture, the cornstarch. All right. Then we're going to stir this up. See that? And I wind up using all the beef. Yeah, as I cooked it, it cooked down. So I wind up using all 4.5 pounds of beef. It's a little over 4.5. So, see that? And so this should thicken up. I'm going to cook it slow. And the potatoes should cook. And once the potatoes get a little tender, then I'll add my corn and peas, because I don't want them to overcook. All right? And I'll be back. All right, guys. That is it. That is the soup. I mean stew. The beef stew. And when I tell you, it's so good. Look at the color. Look how beautiful that looks. Yes, it's already the thickness of the stew. Yes, this is one of the best stews I have ever cooked. It was a labor of love. I started this, Lord, a couple hours ago. Oh yeah, I've been cooking on this almost 3 hours. Yeah, it took me 3 hours to cook this stew, but it was well worth it because it came out perfect. This is something I won't be cooking that often because of the time, but it was well worth it. This is delicious. By far the best stew I have ever made. Beef stew. I will not be making no cornbread. We are trying to watch what we eat around here. I have been overdoing it lately, and I have to get back on track. So, no, I will not be doing no more than what I've already done. So I just put the corn and peas in there. I'm gonna turn it off because they've been sitting out, got room temperature, and I don't need to let them cook. I'm just gonna let them sit in all this heat. I'm gonna put the lid back on it, and dinner's ready in about, I'm gonna let it sit for a good 10-15 minutes. Talk to you later. This is your first time following Velita's World. Please subscribe to my channel. If you're returning and you already subscribed, please hit the little bell button so you can be notified every time Velita World uploads a new video. Sorry about that, guys. Got kind of tie-tongued right there. And remember, as always, peace, love, and happiness is the only way to live.